You think because college football's regular season is over, we are not going to come to you still on a regular basis here at Heartland College Sports? You're wrong. Welcome in. I'm Pete Mundo. Heartland College Sports is where you find us covering the Big 12 Conference. It is so good to have you here. I know that Saturday was the first Saturday we have not had college football for the Big 12, at least since August. We had Army-Navy. Great pageantry, rah-rah America, but let's be honest. We're Big 12 fans. That's why many of you are here. And I'm telling you, it was tough on Saturday. Now, I was at Allen Fieldhouse watching KU jump out to a 15-0 lead and beat NC State, which was a lot of fun and a great time and kind of, walked me off the ledge a little bit since I was so bummed about not having any Big 12 football. But we are going to keep coming to you because bowl season's about to get into full swing this week. We've got West Virginia in action. That's right. The Rich Rod era will begin after the bowl game this week in Frisco. So there's a lot to talk about here at Heartland College Sports. And one thing that really hit me like a sack of bricks, when it comes to the non-college football playoff bowl games, the Big 12 games are tremendous and head and shoulders above the rest. Now, you might sit there and say, who cares? It's all about the 12-team playoff. Well, do not tell that to the diehard college football fan. And if you are here, it's because you're one of us. You're a diehard. You don't want to hear from the casual fan. You go to your little holiday party, and he's like, I don't care about the non-playoff games. That guy's a chump. You tell him to come to this show at Heartland College Sports and explain such a stupid take. By the way, if you could, leave us that 5-star rating and review. If you're on podcast, if you're on the YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up right now as we start the show. Also, leave us a comment and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I just want to read this. Speaking of dumb takes, before I get to this Big 12 bowl topic, I think some SEC fans tried to sabotage the podcast reviews. I go through them every few days, and this came on Monday from a guy called Native Texican. He says, crying because you're seated fourth with a bye, meaning Iowa State. You and Boise don't deserve it and didn't earn it. Better enjoy it. No auto bids after 25. Back to the Shreveport Toilet Bowl, you ungrateful, whiny babies. The mediocre 16 will be relegated to FCS status. That was a review on Apple on the podcast. So the SEC fans are coming for us there. Make sure you are leaving that 5-star rating and review and subscribing to the channel wherever you are. And by the way, yeah, Arizona State should have been ranked higher than Boise State. They should have been the 3 seed. But I don't think that Arizona State was the 4th ranked team in the country. I said for weeks, the system's flawed with buys given the teams who win their conference championships. But if this is the system we've got, then Arizona State should have been the 3 over Boise State. No doubt about it. But I will set that aside for now. I just want to explain it to some of the haters out there. That's all. But bowl games matter. And the Big 12 is set to carry bowl games across college football, not in the college football playoff, of course. I was looking at some of these bowl games, and a lot of them just absolutely stink. You can make a strong case because I was putting together a list of the best bowl games, regardless of conference. And I'm telling you right now, Big 12 easily has 3 of the top 5 bowl games. You could make a case for 4 of the top 6 bowl games, 4 of the top 5 bowl games, really, when you take out the playoff. You look at some of these games, and you're like, tell me a game right now. I think the best non-playoff bowl game is Baylor-LSU. I think Dave Aranda playing against his former team. You have the hottest team in the country nobody's talking about in the Baylor Bears. You have all the high-end talent at LSU. You have the maniac in Brian Kelly. You've got the steady hand in Dave Aranda. The storylines on and off the field are tremendous. That's the best bowl game, hands down. That's not a playoff game. After that, where are you going? You could argue Citrus Bowl, South Carolina, Illinois. has some intrigue to it. South Carolina just missing the playoff. Illinois out of the Big Ten had itself a good year, 9-3. Some good wins. They beat Kansas, Nebraska, Michigan, although none of those teams lived up to expectations. So you say, okay, maybe that's number 2, right? Because of South Carolina largely, but SEC, Big Ten, 2 teams that won 9+ games. It's a good game. Number 3, Pop-Tarts Bowl, Iowa State, Miami. We've talked a lot about this game. Cam Ward looking to make a statement before going to the NFL draft, going up against Iowa State's pass defense. That's the best in the Big 12. Iowa State's trying to win this game. They've been there 3 times in the last 6 years. They've lost to Clemson. They've lost to Notre Dame. They're due. It's a good game with good matchups. At number 4, I'd put the Alamo Bowl. BYU and Colorado. All Big 12 game, but because of the way the contract works for the Alamo Bowl, you've got a former Pac-12 team in Colorado in there going up against, of course, BYU, who's representing, air quotes, the Big 12. And then I probably make the case for the Music City Bowl. It's Missouri against Iowa in the Music City Bowl down in Tennessee. And you can say Coach Drinkwitz has a good program at Missouri. Iowa is Iowa. It's really sexy, but they figure out ways to win. It's SEC Big Ten. Okay. But then where are you going after that? I would probably go Arkansas, Texas Tech in the Liberty Bowl. Old Southwest Conference rivals. That's got intrigue written all over it. Maybe you go Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt. 2 surprising teams. ReliaQuest Bowl, Alabama and Michigan, although is Alabama going to be juiced up for that game? Michigan went 7-5, still living off the win over Ohio State. It looks good on paper, but is it all that good of a game? My point is this: there's a massive drop-off in these non-college football playoff bowl games. There is just some hot garbage when you look up and down the list. I mean, does the Cure Bowl excite you? Jacksonville State, Ohio? Does that one get your juices going? With all due respect to West Virginia, Frisco Bowl's not doing it. What else is really intriguing to you? Arkansas State Bowling Green in the Ventures Bowl, Gator Bowl, Mississippi and Duke, Bahamas Bowl, Buffalo and Liberty. There is a colossal drop-off with these games. And the Big 12 has by far the highest quality games in bowl season that are not college football playoff games. And that's something that I'm just going to acknowledge here and note to you, and then you can share the show with all your friends and family and things like that, because this is, to me, a narrative that needs to be pursued. We know that ESPN, for some reason, whether it's from the top or whether it's just the dopes who are the talking heads, ESPN, for some reason, doesn't like the Big 12. I reported here to you that Brett Yormark a couple of weeks back called ESPN personally and said, stop talking poorly about this conference that you guys are partners with. You chose to enter a partnership. Stop being bums about the whole thing. So that happened, and the coverage improved. Amazingly, the next week, they were like, wow, this guy Cam Scadaboo at Arizona State, man, he's great. Well, yeah, they got the message. Yormark made that call. We reported it first here at Heartland College Sports. You heard it here first. Nobody else ever had that. I mean, trust me, those guys, Thamel, McMurphy, they're amazing at what they do. But we had that scoop here on this show, on the website. So we got to it. You knew that before anybody else did. And you saw it play out a certain way over the last couple of weeks where the ESPN coverage got better. But now with all the focus on the playoff, no one's even looking at the rest of these games and realizing that a lot of them stink. Now, I'm going to watch them because bowl games matter. And if you're a diehard fan, even in this crazy era of the transfer portal, you still want to see, hey, who's that red shirt sophomore that comes out of nowhere with maybe 7 tackles at linebacker, and you're like, that dude we're talking about this offseason. That dude's going to get some love on the Heartland College Sports message boards this offseason. Who's the wide receiver that had 4 catches this season that comes out of nowhere as a freshman and pops off a 6 reception, 82-yard, 1 touchdown game. Who's that guy? Those are what the diehards are watching for in these games. Whether you're going to a bowl game or you're going to be watching from home, you've got a party plan, whatever it might be. That is what those of us who do what we do, who love the sport the way we love it, that's how we look at these bowl games. It gives us great content for the offseason, and you try not to overreact, but man, is it fun. And frankly, that's part of being a fan. You're a fanatic. It's fun to overreact to some of the bowl performances because now you've got to be like, I hope we don't lose the guy in the portal, right? That's now how it goes. And remember this, speaking of the portal, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. When it comes to the transfer portal, do know that if a team is in the college football playoff, those guys do not have to enter the portal until 5 days after their season ends. So with this 12-team playoff, theoretically, that's 12 of the most talented teams in America, right? Nobody on that roster is largely going to enter the portal until after the season ends. They have 5 days after the season ends, if you're in the playoff, to enter the transfer portal. There is an immense amount of talent still out there that is going to be hitting the transfer portal. Do not forget that. And that is something that I want to make sure that you're aware of because a lot of teams are looking around and saying, are we going to get our guys, our needs in the transfer portal? You are. It just might take some time. It will take longer than it's ever taken because the season is going to be longer than it's ever been, right? I mean, we're going to be going to what? Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's going to be January 20th for the national championship. I mean, it's just crazy. And can we get this damn sport to end on a Saturday for crying out loud? These Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern championship games wrapping up at 12:30, 1 in the morning is ridiculous, but I will save that rant for another day. I know some of you might want to go down that road, but I am not interested in going down that road at all. So there will be some time for all this to get squared away. Just know that as well. But the Big 12 is going to have some great entertainment for you that the rest of the conferences are simply not going to have. And you might say that's me just waving the Big 12 pom-poms and, that's all it is. Look at the list of games. You tell me what is more intriguing to you. Please find me, the great Big 10, Big 12, or Big 10 SEC games, ACC games that are better than the Big 12 slate I just gave to you. I don't think you can find it. Now, speaking of the transfer portal, Texas Tech is cleaning up right now. Texas Tech has had itself a tremendous stretch here in the transfer portal that should not get overlooked. I mean, they just had a rip-roaring 48-hour stretch that was really impressive. And I just want to update you on that here real quick. They took 2 of the top transfer portal players. It was late on Friday night I saw this. I was like, dang. Joey McGuire, he's doing his Ric Flair. He puts out the Ric Flair memes, which are tremendous. Or I guess they're not memes, they're GIFs. But Joey McGuire is fired up when he puts out the Ric Flair. Woo, woo, woo. You know what he's doing, right? I mean, I can't do my Ric Flair. It's getting a little, my voice is a little too deep for the Ric Flair. But if you love Ric Flair, you love Ric Flair. So I'm not going to embarrass Ric Flair by trying to do the Ric Flair right now. But he puts out those Ric Flair GIFs when he's about to hit the recruiting trail and get a big commitment. And he got a bunch of them over the weekend. So Texas Tech, and good on this NIL deal at Tech. They're obviously, listen, guys are getting paid. That's the name of the game right now. Northern Illinois defensive tackle Skylar Gill Howard is coming to the Red Raiders, one of the best defensive players in the MAC, 72 tackles, 5.5 sacks. In his first 2 years in college football. So he is considered a top 15 player at his position. And that came on Saturday after the big news on Friday. They got Mississippi State cornerback Bryce Pollock and Miami of Ohio wide receiver Reggie Virgil. Both those guys committed on Friday night. Pollock's a top 5 cornerback in the transfer portal per on 3. And then you add this wide receiver, Virgil, 6'4", 190, 41 catches, 816 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. So Joey McGuire is on absolute fire right now on the recruiting trail. And it's just been good on him. It has been a heck of a lot of fun to watch. And you think about where this Tech team is right now. If they are able to win the Liberty Bowl over Arkansas, which I think they will, and they get to that 9-win mark, they will be a highly discussed team to win the Big 12 in 2025. Right now, when it comes to the transfer portal, they are number 2 in the country in transfer portal team rankings per 247, behind only Ole Miss. They have 6 commits. 3 of them are former 4-star guys. 3 are 3-star guys, but they are right there at number 2 in the country. I know it's early. I just want to note that, though. You know who else is in that top 5, by the way? Don't look now, but the Houston Cougars find themselves in the top 5 in the country in transfer portal rankings for 2025. Now, I think these rankings will change dramatically in the weeks ahead, but Tech is off to a red-hot start, and you'd rather be off to a good start because then you know you've got these guys locked down. You've got them there, right? You don't have to chase them anymore. You are filling holes as you go. And that's a great thing if you're a Red Raiders fan. Now, if you go down the list in the Big 12, Tech is 1 in transfer portal team rankings in the Big 12. Houston's 2. Iowa State 3. Kansas 4. Oklahoma State is at 5. Utah 6. Arizona 7. Baylor's at 8. Cincinnati 9, TCU 10, K-State 11, UCF 12, Arizona State 13, Colorado right there with them. BYU and West Virginia do not have any commits in the portal just yet. Now, BYU is never going to be a big portal team. We all understand why, right? With the LDS connection, the unique way that that program and that university operates, they're not going to be an in and out kind of a program. That's not how it's going to work. And then West Virginia trying to figure out what to do in the wake of Rich Rod, who just got introduced the other day. That obviously will take some time. He's got to figure out what he has before he starts hitting the portal. But know that that's what's going on there. That's going to change dramatically. But you got to love what Joey McGuire has set up right now with these Red Raiders and how that program is building going into 2025. Now, if you're Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, you got to be happy about this. You just got Caleb Hicks away from OU in the transfer portal. So now Caleb Hicks didn't see a lot of time his freshman year at OU. He had 2 carries for 11 yards. Came in the OU class of 23, spent the past 2 years as a Sooner. He was a 3-star prospect coming out of Ryan High School. But anytime that you can take a player away from OU, it's got to feel kind of good, right? I mean, this guy had big-time offers coming out of high school. Alabama, Colorado, Auburn, Miami, Ole Miss. He had a lot of offers. And you know that Ollie Gordon's done. Oklahoma State is looking for help in that backfield. And why not turn to a guy who was with your in-state rival? OU fans may say there's no rivalry there anymore. I don't care. It's a good pickup. Take it. Run with it. Have some fun. Let's see what the guy can do. Okay? Exactly right. Look at this on YouTube. Any poach from OU is good for me. Yeah, that's from PNW Ute. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. I agree. I totally agree. So just take that, run with it. It is going to be so busy in the next few weeks on this transfer portal front. I can't wait for it. We are going to start easing our way into some Big 12 basketball. Trust me, we'll have that covered for you, especially as we get to conference play. I mentioned that I was at the KU-NC State game on Saturday. KU jumped out to a 15-0 lead. They won by 15. You know, you look at right now what's going on in the Big 12, and it's very early. Non-conference schedules obviously dictate how good or how bad a team looks. I know that KU is sitting there as probably the team that you look at and say they're the ones to beat. Arizona's off to a rocky start. They lost to UCLA. Caleb Love is in a major slump. Iowa State's going to say, why not us, right? KU's going to say, we're the team to beat. We're the preseason number one. I just know this much about KU. Hunter Dickinson just doesn't want to go down low. Hunter Dickinson, for whatever reason, after all these years, at 7'1", is not interested in attacking the rim. And KU really doesn't have that. As I was watching the game, I was right there watching it yesterday. And I've obviously been in full-blown football mode in large part. But I'm like, this guy still hasn't developed any game around the rim. I mean, he wants to throw up threes, lean into 6-7 foot jumpers. And that may be why this guy keeps coming back for what feels like his 8th year of college. He's not cut out for the league. He's going to be a very good, very productive college player, obviously. He has been his entire career. But KU does not have that big body down low. It might be KJ Adams, but you can't rely on KJ Adams to be that 25-point, 20-point-a-night guy. Zeke Mayo, the transfer who's from Lawrence, came in, had himself a great night, 25 points against NC State. KU won the game easily, but KU is not going to be invincible this year. They weren't last year. We saw how that played out. The other big storylines out of Saturday in the Big 12 on the hardwood, Bedlam, speaking of OU, Oklahoma State, was played in Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma State starters didn't do a lick on offense. In fact, what you saw was the second group, the guys off the bench, scored the bulk of the points for the Cowboys. It was too little, too late, but still trying to obviously get a feel with Steve Lutz and what he's going to do there. You have Cincinnati, who held off Xavier in that great rivalry game, 68-65 over the Musketeers. Cincinnati needed that. They had lost already to a Big East team in Villanova on the road, so they got that win against Xavier, a solid win. Xavier, they almost made that comeback. There was a crazy 4-point play at the end of the game. It cut it to a 1-point game, but then you had it was just a job well done in the final 10, 15 seconds of that game with Cincinnati putting in 2 free throws to extend it to a 3-point lead. And then one of Xavier's players missed a potential game-tying 3-pointer. So I think it was Jizzle James, who had the 2 free throws there at the end of the game to help extend that lead and ultimately seal the win. You did have the Arizona loss to UCLA. Once again, I alluded to it earlier. Caleb Love is ice cold. The offense stinks right now for Arizona. They have got to get that thing figured out before conference play, because they were a preseason, top 10 team, and they're sitting there at 4-5. I mean, it's been a really bad start for Arizona, top to bottom. And everything else across the board was basically as you would have expected. Arizona State lost to top 10 Florida. You had UCF handle Tulsa. West Virginia beat Bethune-Cookman. Utah over Radford, and BYU rolled Wyoming. So we're getting closer to what's going to be obviously conference play. It's about 2 weeks away, give or take. This week is going to be a very slow week in the Big 12 on the basketball scene. You don't have a lot of great games because it's finals week for a lot of these guys. So there's no real premier game that you look at on the schedule and say, oh, that's the one I'm going to sit down and watch. That game really doesn't exist. Everyone more or less is playing over the next 7 days, but there's no great games. Yeah, just look at the schedule. There's nothing that's all that appealing when you stack it up. Even if you go to, next weekend, there's really nothing that's all that great. I mean, maybe you get juiced up if you're an Oklahoma State fan for Oral Roberts, but not much else that's going to wet your whistle. Kansas State at Wichita State, Utah, Iowa, maybe. But what it's really about is the Frisco Bowl this week. We've got our first Big 12 bowl game. So that is going to be something I'll do a little preview for that game coming up this week. It is on Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Central on ESPN. So I'll do a little preview. Make sure you're here for it. And we'll definitely have you covered at Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you leave us that rating and review if you're on the podcast so you can kick out some of those SEC fans who are trying to sabotage us. And if you're on the YouTube channel, drop that 5-star or drop that subscription and hit that thumbs up. Thank you, guys. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. Also, check us out on the free forums. We'll talk to you soon. Go Big 12.